Okay, please let me know till where we covered in the last class. I forgot. What was the topic that we were covering? I guess it was from DHTML. Did I cover all the four functions or not? So DHTML is complete, right? DHTML. This is what I'm saying. DHTML. Is it completed or not? As part of that, you must have seen some functions like get element, four different functions: get elements by tag name, get elements by name, get elements by class name, get elements by ID. Right, fine. So the topic that we are left over will be user-defined object. We have seen some predefined objects like date object, regular expression object, and array object. I've given you programs on this. I asked you to go through number, else I asked you to refer anything else. I think okay. These are all what these are all predefined objects. Okay, so these come under examples for predefined objects. But just like predefined objects are provided to us in JavaScript, we can also create our own object. Right? So if we create our own object, then we call them as user-defined objects. So let us see how to do this, creating user-defined objects in JavaScript. So look at this program. So the HTML code just contains one button. That button name is displayed as get student info. And when you wait, I didn't share your screen. So is it now visible? Okay. So the HTML body of this program contains only a button which displays the button label as get student info. And when you click on this button, a function called objects function will be called. So I'm using on click attribute here. When I click on this attribute, this function objects will be called, right? So what is the function here? This function name we have given here objects, same as that we mentioned here. Value. So this function will be invoked whenever I click on that button. Right? Let me open this for you. So there is a button here, right? So when you click on this button, some information, student details like name is Sachin, roll number is 567, branches is CSC. So this information is displayed as output. So how we are getting this output? We are creating an object. So to create an object, you need to use a var keyword like this. So this is one of the way for creating an object of your own, right? So there is another way also. We'll discuss about it after completion of this. So first, I'm creating a object with its name as student. So how to create that object? By using the var keyword. So use the same var keyword and give the name for that object. So I'm giving it as student here is equal to. Then open the brace and at the end close the brace, right? So as we know, every object is associated with some properties and methods or functions, right? So as we discussed in the previous classes, what is an object? Object, every object will be associated, or we can say it contains, be associated with methods or functions, whatever you call, and properties, right? So if that is the case, even the user defined objects also can associate with these methods and properties. But the only difference is the methods and functions associated with the user defined objects are created by ourselves when we are writing the program. Whereas so am I audible? I think I must be louder now. So every object will be associated with methods or functions and properties. So as such, even user-defined objects also will be associated with some methods and properties. But the difference is the methods and properties are defined by ourselves at the time of writing the program, whereas in user predefined objects, they are already defined, and we just need to create one object variable for that one, access that methods by using object name dot that method name or property, right? So first here in user defined objects, we need to create the object first, and then we need to add the properties and methods to that object, and then later we can create an object for this uh, uh, any of this instance for this object, and then access the contents of this object in our program. So that is what we can do, and let me show you how to do that one. First, what I'm doing is I'm creating an object student. So the syntax for creating an object is use the var keyword and use the object name, use the assignment operator of the object, open the brace, and then close the brace at the end and end it with a semicolon, right? And within these braces, how many properties you want to add, how many methods you want to add, that many properties and methods you can add. So how to add them and how to separate them, how to delimit them means, if it is a property, just mention the property name like this, like you do it in CSS, right? So the property name is name here, then followed by a colon symbol and mention its value. If it is a string value, mention it in double quotes. If it is a numeric value, you need not use double quotes. Okay. So now this name is nothing but a property, and followed by a colon symbol, its value is such. So I'm enclosing it in double quotes. So after the first property is completed, give a comma. Then I'm adding one more property called roll number, ROLLNO, and followed by a colon symbol. Its value is 567. I'm giving it as a numeric value, so I'm not enclosing it in double quote or single quote. Then give a comma. Another property is branch. Then its value is CSC within double quotes because it is a string. Then give a comma. So I have added three properties, namely the name, roll number, and branch. So now I want to add some method also, one or two methods also I want to add. So how to add method? So after this third property is completed, after the last property is completed, I can give a comma. Then for giving a name for that method, you just use that name of the method directly. So the method name is info, right? The method or function that I want to add to this object is the info, right? So after the function name, give a colon symbol, then use a keyword function, the keyword that we use for creating functions in JavaScript. So that same keyword use it here. And after the keyword, you open the brace and open the parenthesis and close the parenthesis, right? And then you need to provide the body for the function or method definition. So how do you define a method? Just like here you open the brace and at the end you close the brace. Here also you open the brace and close the brace here, and within this braces you write the body of that function or method, right? So in my function that I'm adding, the name of the function is info, right? And the code that is contained within this function or info is this. So what I'm doing here is document.write. I'm displaying a message student detail, and then the document.write, using which I'm displaying name concatenated with this dot name. This dot name, what do you mean by this means? We are writing this code inside this function, and this function is associated with the object, right? What is that object? Student object. So even before the student object's creation is completed, and you want to access that object and refer to a property which is associated with that object, right? In that case, we need to use this operator. So this is similar to the Java's this keyword. If anybody has learned already Java, then you must know about this keyword. So what is the purpose there in this Java? The same is the case even here also. This keyword is used to refer to an object even before it is created. So when the object's definition is created till here, right? Here it is created. So if you are executing this piece of code, does it mean that the object has been completed when you're writing this statement? The object's definition is not completed, right? So even before the object's definition is completed, we are trying to use this object student name, right? So that's the reason why instead of using that student name, you will get an error even before it is created. If you use its name, you will get an error. So in this case, JavaScript provides us with an alternative mechanism to refer to an object even before it is created, right? And what is that option is this keyword. So this keyword will be referring to object student. So later, when the program is executed, wherever you find this keyword, wherever you find this keyword, this will be substituted with this object name student. So this is nothing but student dot name, right? So this statement will become student dot name, and this will become student dot roll number. This will become student dot branch. Okay. So what I am doing with all these three document dot write statements is I'm displaying the name and the the property name property value, the roll number property value, and branch property value. This dot name refers to this property name. This dot roll number refers to this roll number. This dot branch refers to the branch property here. So what are their values? Name value is Sachin. The roll number value is 567. Branch value is CS. So these document dot write statements are going to display name property, roll number property, and branch properties values respectively. So once this student object is created till here, from here till here, then if you want to make a call to this, you want to make a call to this function associated with this student, definitely it must be called, right? Without calling a function, the code that you have written inside that function will never be executed. So what we need to do, we need to call that function. How to call that function from outside that object? Use that object name student dot, what is the function name? Info, right? So to call that function, after the object definition is created here, I want to make a call to this info function. So I cannot directly make a call to this info function. I have to call it by using the object name followed by dot operator and the function. So this statement is going to make a call to this info function. As a result, these four document.write statements will be executed and they'll be printing the output the way it is shown earlier. So you have already seen the output for this program, right? So this is the output. Student details, then name Sachin, roll number 567, branch is CS. So now if I put the student.info in comments, then what will happen? I will not get any output here. So I'll click on get student info. I'm not going to get any output because the function info is not called. Right? Earlier we were calling the functions but without the necessity of the object because they are directly available outside an object. Those functions are available for everyone. Anyone can call them. But now this function that I created is a member of this object student, a predefined object student. Right? So you can understand from this program that even the user defined objects will also be associated with two types of members. One is properties, right? And the second one is functions. So we have in this example object student, we have three properties and one function. If you want to add one more function here, you can give a comma and add one more function like say display read function. We want to give a function called read. Then read colon function keyword must be used function and the parenthesis and close the parenthesis and brace and close the brace. In between the braces, you write the code for that function. In that way, you can add as many functions as you want in your object. So now I didn't add the second function. Earlier, I was using only three properties and one function. So after the third property, you look at the comma, which is separating this function from the other members of this object, right? Name, roll number, branch is are three different members of this object. Similarly, info is also another member, but the type of member is different. This is a function member, and this is a property member. So properties are like variables, and this is like a function. Two types of members you can have associated with every object. Fine. So in the same way, here also use the define function. We have two types of members associated with this object today. One is properties, the other one is function. So this is how you can create a object and add properties and functions to an object and access them wherever you want in your program. Fine. Let me show you one more example. So look at this. As I told you earlier, there is an alternative way for creating an object and accessing the contents of that object in your program, right? So the first way I've shown you using this example where I created using a var keyword an object called student. So now let us look at another function here. Look at this function. I created a function called student, and for this I'm passing three parameters. The first parameter is name, second one is roll number, third one is branch. Same properties that we used in the previous program. Right? Then in my object, I want properties called name, roll number, and branch. So you know in Java, if you have already learned in Java, then every class will have both instance variables as well as local variables or parameter variables. So sometimes the instance variable names will be same as that of the local variables or parameters for the